cafe anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Yay, look at me. I'm doing a podcast on a Monday. That's pretty good. I had to skip Sunday, though. I had to skip Father's Day.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Because I was at a really cool party with some friends, and it got me thinking how the past year has been really stinking, where we couldn't see each other and hang out and have a good time. And then this whole thing happened, and we all started to cry because of the stupid Wuhan virus. The stupid virus that came from
Mike's Daily Podcast.
A wet market. Ew. I would never want to go to a wet market unless I really had a hankering
Daily
for something that came out of the ocean.
Podcast.
Or something that was wet.
Yeah!
I guess. Moist towelette. That's kind of wet. Hey, Wet 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 was a band in the 80s and early 90s. Do you remember their song? They did a cover. Well, they got big here in America with the song from Four Weddings and a Funeral. I see it in my fingers. I see it in my bones. You know I love you and I always will. My mind's made up about the way that I feel. Okay, so I went to this party. Somebody brought Beyond Meat, and that was interesting because I tried the hot dog, and it tastes like that fake meat hot dog, which, by the way, that would not be a good name for a company. Beyond Meat, that's done really well as far as names go. Burger King, bunch of other people carry their stuff, but fake meat. Hey, we're fake meat. Enjoy a delicious fake meat. That's not quite the better of the two names. So the hot dog was not so good. It kind of tasted to me like that hot dog they were selling, the fake hot dog at Trader Joe's. But the burger, I could almost get into that. I was saying it almost had that consistency.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Of course, this was cooked on a grill. So it also had a lot of that smoke flavor from the coals and whatnot. So that may have influenced it. But there you go. And I washed it down with some wine. Hadn't had wine in a while. It's been over a year since the massive cataclysmic beer drinking nightmare that I had, where I had such a wonderful time with Kevin from Addendum with Kevin. And Kevin basically poured me every beer known to man, and I drank it and got quite that's right, Basil, I got quite drunk and was sick. In fact, I was so bad, Basil, he felt bad for me. Yes, he saw me in my state and was not happy. The late great Basil the boxer, everybody. Which I had a moment today on a little walk. I wanted to walk. Oh, happy summer solstice, by the way. Longest day of the year, my mom's favorite day. She hates the winter solstice when there's no sun. But today we have the most sun of the year. And there was this time where I went for a walk with Basil the boxer. We would go to this meadow. I called it the meadow. And even when his back legs were going and he couldn't walk, he needed my assistance with the help of that harness. I'd pick him up with the back legs. And we would go to the meadow still, and he would sit. We'd walk out to the middle of the meadow, and then he'd want to be put down. And he would just sit there and smell, and you know how dogs just observe everything, and they look like they're enjoying it. And the smells, the enhanced olfactory sniffing capabilities of a dog. And they're taking in everything, and it's just fantastic. So summer solstice, happy summer solstice to you. Yesterday, enjoyed getting together with all these people not wearing masks. And I was thinking about it later, what we were doing yesterday would have been called a super spreader event in the past. And there we were, all without masks. We'd all been vaccinated. We were enjoying the barbecue, enjoying the fake meat, and enjoying a great time in the wine. And I Oh, by the way, after that beer event where I drank, the problem was, I drank too much beer. That was a year ago. I think I had 6 beers, and one of them was a sour. They were all just different types of beer, and in my sensitive stomach, that was like mixing alcohol, and that was a bad idea. Never a good idea. So yesterday, I just stuck to some red wine, and I was, although it always makes me sleepy, but a little bit of red wine is okay. It's got the antioxidants and whatnot. But today is the longest sunlight day of the year, and in honor of that, I just wanted to mention some reasons why you need to get out in the sun. One of the funniest things that happened a few years back when the whole Pokemon game, the augmented reality game on your phone, everybody downloaded that app and was playing that game. All the people that were, let's call them millennials, for lack of a better term, were doing it. And a lot of them you could see, and Basil was fine then. He could walk then before he had the degenerative myelopathy. And we were walking around. We walked every day. And I remember seeing all these people that just were not used to being outside. And you could tell, I mean, they had it looked like they had no sun exposure. Let's just say a total lack of pigment. And Basil the boxer would be walking along, and these people would be doing their thing with the Pokemon, and all of a sudden they'd see Basil and go, it's a real live animal instead of these fake ones. Not that I know anything about Pokemon. I could tell you a little bit about my world growing up with the cartoon type stuff. It was Scooby-Doo. It was the Justice League. It was Fat Albert. Yes, Fat Albert. And everybody talked like I did. But I can't do the Weird Harold. Was it Weird Harold that had that cadence with the voice? Yes, it was Bill Cosby did all the voices. And okay. Then there were other shows that did not get as popular or did not stick around in the mind of most people. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley on the summer solstice day. I remember this one called The Sentinels, and it was 3 superheroes, but they were like, one of them had the power to... No, I don't remember what it was. I guess that's why it didn't leave that big of an impression on me. It didn't leave that big an impression of all the other kids that were around at that time. I cannot think of... there was a Harlem Globetrotters cartoon. Oh, there was a dog, and this was the name. I didn't come up with this name, but it was Hong Kong Phooey. Bizarre. I had a roommate that was from Hong Kong who was quite good friends with Basil, and he still does not know about I need to call him and let him know about Basil. We lost Basil. It will be a year coming up in about a month. It'll be a year since the dearly departed Basil left us. So I can't think of any other 70s cartoons at the moment. I know you just do a Google search or a YouTube search and you can find a bunch of them. But it was mostly Hanna-Barbera stuff. I guess anything Hanna-Barbera came out with at that time. Okay, so decreased sun exposure has been associated with a drop in your serotonin levels, which can lead to major depression. The light-induced effects of serotonin are triggered by sunlight that goes in through the eye. Sunlight cues special areas in the retina, which triggers the release of serotonin, so you're more likely to experience this type of depression in the wintertime when the days are shorter. According to Healthline.com, decreased sun exposure has been associated with a drop in your serotonin levels. Due to this connection, one of the main treatments for depression with seasonal pattern is light therapy, also known as phototherapy. And if you have in your collection Northern Exposure, they do a cool little story that has to do with that. One of the guys who's all depressed because they live up in Alaska and there's no sunlight, they give him one of these light visors that they put on, and suddenly he's got all this energy, and he's this older guy, and he's quoting Shakespeare, and he's running around, and Walt, that's right, Walt. And I think they called him Walt because he looked like Walt Disney. That guy, that actor, I'm not going to look him up right now, but he was the best. Okay, Northern Exposure, unfortunately, there's nowhere to stream it. And it's hard to find cool YouTube clips of that. Building strong bones. Exposure to the ultraviolet B radiation and the sun's rays causes a person's skin to create vitamin D. In a 30-minute period while wearing a swimsuit, people will make the following vitamin D levels. 50,000 international units. Huh? This vitamin D is thanks to the sun, and it plays a big role in bone health. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to rickets in children and osteoporosis. Also, apparently, it is supposed to help skin cancer, although excess sunlight can contribute to skin cancer. A moderate amount of sunlight actually has preventative benefits when it comes to cancer. Those who live in areas with fewer daylight hours are more likely to have some specific cancers than those who live where there's more sun during the day. Interesting. These cancers include colon cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer, prostate cancer. So more sun, you wouldn't think. You'd think more sun would cause that. But according to healthline.com, that's not the case. According to the World Health Organization, sun exposure might help treat several skin conditions too. Psoriasis, eczema, jaundice, acne. Doctors have recommended UV radiation exposure to treat those. While light therapy isn't for everyone, a dermatologist can recommend whether light treatments will benefit your specific skin concerns. And finally, it can also help with sunlight has potential treatment for other conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus, erythematosus, inflammatory bowel disease, and thyroiditis. However, more studies need to be conducted. But there you go. Sunlight in moderation. Researchers don't have an exact measurement for how long you should stay outside or reap the benefits of sunlight, but defining an excess amount of sun exposure depends on your skin type and how direct the sun's rays are. People with fair skin typically get a sunburn more quickly than those with darker skin. Also, you're more likely to get a sunburn going outside when the sun's rays are more direct. This usually takes place between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And vitamin D is so important, it fights diseases, so sun helps in making that. It reduces your risk of multiple sclerosis. Vitamin D may have a role in that, according to a 2006 study by the Journal of published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. It can also decrease your chances of heart disease and help reduce your likelihood of developing the flu. And vitamin D reduces depression, and it boosts weight loss. Consider adding vitamin D supplements to your diet if you're trying to lose weight or prevent heart disease. In one study, people taking a daily calcium and vitamin D supplement were able to lose more weight than subjects taking a placebo supplement. Beware of vitamin D deficiency. Many factors can affect your ability to get sufficient amounts of vitamin D through the sun, like being in an area with high pollution, using sunscreen, spending more time indoors, living in big cities where buildings block sunlight, and having darker skin. The higher the levels of melanin, the less vitamin D the skin can absorb, according to healthline.com. These factors contribute to vitamin D deficiency. That's why it's important to get some of your vitamin D from sources besides sunlight. There you go. Oh, and there's food sources for vitamin D that include salmon, sardines, egg yolk, shrimp, fortified milk, fortified cereal, fortified yogurt, and fortified orange juice. Probably also eating an orange would help. There you go. So that's that, as we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. What makes men engage in the behavior of not seeking health advice? Guys who believe in traditional masculinity were likely taught that they needed to show strength, if not invincibility, and having health complaints and seeing a doctor may be seen as a sign of weakness. There is also a fear of a bad diagnosis or being vulnerable, so men often try to diagnose a health condition themselves rather than see a doctor. These factors can be among the reasons that men on an average live about 5 years less than women spend more of their lives being sick. There are potential solutions to this problem. Some men have found it easier to see a doctor virtually rather than in person. In the absence of an annual physical exam, a periodic physical is better than nothing at all. The bottom line is that men should use all the tools available in order to lead a long and healthy life. Along with stressing the importance of going to the doctor, Costco pharmacists, yes, I got this from the Costco connection, are able to assist with other medical needs. Thank you, Lawrence Varga, a pharmacist and the general manager of Costco Pharmacy Operations in Canada. And here are some important doctor appointments all men should make for the sake of their health. A physical exam annually, a skin check annually, teeth cleaning every 6 months, and a colon cancer screening starting at the age of, and I thought it was 50, they say here 45. Have a colonoscopy performed at least every 10 years. Yikes. Have a vision test every 2 years. I'm way behind on that. That's why I can barely read this article. And a hearing test. What? Every 3 to 5 years? What? What is he saying? What? There you go. And that, my friend, is why this podcast is listed under the comedy section topic, because I made that joke with me going, what, 8 times. Wasn't that great? We're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Look who's here right now. Right this second. Hello, Mega Master. It's Madame Rootabega. What I thought that was very funny. Oh! Do you like my comedy? Yes. Do you want to see me do stand-up? Yes. Do you like the comedy of Stephen Colbert?
N-O, no.
No. Okay. Some people don't like Stephen Colbert. It's interesting. I like his band leader. He makes great music. All right. Oh, I didn't even say what the podcast picture was today. It's probably going to be from that trip. Oh, when we were up in the, we were going to Half Moon Bay last week on that day I took off on that Wednesday. And there's a beautiful skyline drive there along the ridge, and there's lots of beautiful redwood trees, and I took a picture of that, so I'll post a picture from that at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Don't forget, you can call me. Let me know what you think about any of the topics we covered at 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily isn't what this podcast tries to be and doesn't succeed at doing, but at least this is not going to be a Mike's Weekly podcast. I didn't do one for like a whole week. Actually maybe I can call it Mike's Almost Daily Podcast. There you go. That's the best solution to that very awful problem that's just bugging me. Will we ever find an answer to this problem?
No means no.
Dang it.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
That was FF episode 2253. You can catch past episodes, FF episodes at MikesDailyPodcast.com.